$8.7 billion. That's how much more it's costing the Canadian government to buy a new fleet of F-35 fighter jets.
Swedish defense firm Saab wants Canada to buy and build its fighter jets.
What I'd like to see Canada become our 51st state. We give them protection, military protection.
Canada choosing an ally or choosing sovereignty. Canada is facing challenges few countries ever have to carry. The second largest territory on Earth, tens of thousands of kilometers of coastline, and an Arctic that's heating up both literally and strategically. Melting ice is opening new shipping routes, new resources, and new geopolitical pressure points. Russia is expanding its military presence in the north. China now calls itself a near Arctic state. The United States is stepping up its involvement. Right in the middle of this storm, Ottawa has to decide 88 F-35s from the United States or 88 Gripens from Sweden. This decision will shape Canadian defense policy for the next 50 years. So, what's the problem with the F-35? On paper, it's a masterpiece. Cutting-edge stealth, world-leading technology, trusted by more than a dozen NATO countries. But the devil is in the details, and Ottawa is learning that the hard way. In March 2025, Canada began re-examining its contract for 88 F-35s. Why? Because the cost jumped from 19 billion Canadians in 2023 to 27.7 billion, and it could climb even higher. This isn't the first time the F-35 has given partner countries serious budget headaches. Music, but money is only part of the story. The F-35 depends to varying degrees on U.S. systems for software upgrades and maintenance. Some partner nations have negotiated data autonomy and built firewalls. Israel even secured a special deal allowing near total operational independence. The U.S. doesn't have a remote kill switch for the F-35, but it does control software upgrades. And those can be limited if Washington chooses. For Canada, the question isn't whether the U.S. would ever do that. The question is whether Ottawa wants to put itself in that position in the first place. There's another issue, geography. The F-35 needs long runways and major infrastructure. Canada's Arctic has very few modern air bases. In a crisis, when speed matters, when infrastructure is under threat, the F-35 may not be the most flexible option. That's where Sweden enters the picture with a very different proposal. And here's the detail most people overlook, the detail that changes how you see the entire game. The Gripen isn't a technological superweapon like the F-35. It's not perfectly stealthy. It's not the fastest jet in the sky, but it has something the F-35 doesn't: flexibility and independence. Imagine a fighter jet that can take off from a highway or from an icy Arctic surface. A jet that can be refueled in under 10 minutes, have its engines swapped in less than an hour, and operate with a minimal maintenance crew, even in the harshest environments. This isn't theory. This is what Sweden has proven repeatedly over decades. But the biggest difference lies in software architecture. The Gripen was designed with a clear separation between critical flight control software and mission software. That means Canada could upgrade mission systems without having to re-certify the entire flight platform. Technological sovereignty isn't just a slogan here. It's engineered into the aircraft. Defense analysts call this sovereign sustainment, the ability to maintain, adapt, and evolve a defense system without being fully dependent on the original supplier. To be fair, there's no sugarcoating one thing. The GRI still uses a US-made General Electric engine. That means some level of dependence on Washington remains. But that dependence is significantly lower than with the F-35. And this is only the technical side of the story. Now, we get to what Sweden really wants to talk about. Saab's proposal isn't just about selling 88 aircraft. They're offering to build and assemble them in Canada, specifically in Quebec and Ontario. They're promising between 9,000 and 2,600 direct and indirect jobs. They want to partner with Bombardier, using the Global 6500 platform for the global eye surveillance aircraft. But more important than any of that, technology transfer and engineer training. It's a model Sweden has already proven works in Brazil. This isn't just a purchase contract. It's a chance for Canada to rebuild the defense aerospace industry it lost back in 1959. That was the year Canada Avro Aero program, one of the most advanced aircraft projects of its time. That decision ended Canada's ambition for independent defense aviation technology. Since then, Ottawa has relied on foreign suppliers. The Gripen could be a path to reclaim that capability, but the context is even more complicated. Canada is facing serious trade tensions with the United States. Under President Trump, Ottawa is actively looking to diversify its defense suppliers, not just for technical reasons, but for political ones. And Washington knows this very well. U.S. officials have already warned of serious consequences if Canada walks away from the F-35 deal. But that's still not the full story. There's a third player on this chessboard, one most people aren't paying attention to. While the world is focused on the standoff between Ottawa and Washington, Kiev has quietly signed a letter of intent to purchase between 100 and 150 Gripen fighters from Sweden. And here's the key point. Saab needs to expand production capacity beyond Sweden. If Canada says yes, Ottawa could become a Gripen manufacturing hub, not just for its own air force, but also for Ukraine, a three-way deal where everyone wins. Ukraine gets modern fighter jets. Canada gets technology and jobs. Sweden gets markets and geopolitical influence. But there's another battlefield quietly taking shape, the Arctic. As the ice melts, new shipping routes are opening up. Controlling Arctic airspace isn't just about national security. It's about global trade. Whoever controls surveillance corridors here gains a strategic edge for the next decade. The F-35 is powerful, but it demands pristine infrastructure. The Gripen is flexible. It can deploy quickly from temporary bases, from icy terrain without long runways. In the brutal Arctic environment, flexibility can matter more than raw power. Defense analysts believe this is exactly why Sweden is confident in its proposal. But is Ottawa willing to take that bet? Now, let's talk about what the headlines rarely mention. The Gripen sounds ideal, but reality is more complicated. Canada has already committed to buying 16 F-35s, and that number could grow. If Ottawa switches to the green, it would have to operate 2 different fighter fleets at the same time. 2 maintenance systems, 2 supply chains, 2 pilot training programs. The cost isn't just the sticker price of the aircraft. The real cost is logistics. Former Canadian Air Force officials have warned about combat effectiveness. They argue that in high-intensity conflict, the F-35 still has the edge. The Gripen is strong in patrol and surveillance, but in a true peer-to-peer fight, the question remains unanswered. And don't forget, the Gripen still uses a US-made General Electric engine. If Washington truly wanted to apply pressure, it would still have leverage. So the question is this: what options is Canada really weighing? 3 scenarios are now on the table: keeping all 88 F-35s, a mixed fleet with 16 to 44 F-35s combined with 50 to 72 Gripens, or a Gripen-centered force paired with global eye surveillance aircraft. But there's one detail neither Washington nor Stockholm fully controls. The final decision doesn't rest with defense experts. It doesn't rest with analysts. It rests with one person, Prime Minister Mark Carney. And as of January 2026, no official decision has been made. So what should Canada choose? This isn't a question of technology. It's a question of national philosophy. The F-35 represents the traditional path: deep integration with the country's most powerful ally, access to the most advanced technology, but with built independence and ever-rising costs. It offers security through alliance, but limits on autonomy. The Gripen represents a different path: greater technological independence, more tactical flexibility, and a real chance to rebuild Canada's defense aerospace industry, but with risks in high intensity, combat scenarios and serious logistical challenges in a mixed fleet model. There's no perfect choice, only trade-offs. When security and independence can't fully coexist, when pressure from the closest ally collides with the desire for sovereignty, when defense budgets clash with industrial ambition, Canada finds itself at a historic crossroads.